Happening now, city officials are releasing details of a report aimed at improving winter maintenance operations. Let's have a listen.
Trying to keep the sidewalks clear. We lack the plan in place in order to make sure that that work happens well. We also don't really treat it sometimes like it is the emergency that it is. I want to commend our deputy city manager, who in February stepped in and did just that, meeting with the teams in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day in 24-hour cycles to say, how can we get on top of the work that needed to happen, particularly after we had achieved those 9 days of snow and we're trying to deal with the removal of nearly 60 centimeters of snow. The second major bucket of recommendations that are in the report and will be considered by Executive Committee and Council have to do with our snow clearing and snow removal processes themselves. The bottom line is that Toronto and many parts of the city has a very limited capacity to store snow, as we say. Places where we can push snow and just let it naturally sit there and obviously over time melt. Toronto needs to remove snow in major snow events, and yet we don't have a really robust contracting approach for the removal of snow. We do not have standalone contracts, as other cities do, for snow removal itself. Why that matters is that we are constantly having to trade off in major snow events, whether we're pushing snow in the clearing phase and salting and sanding, or whether we're removing snow so we can have better storage capacity. It also limits our abilities to remove snow at lower levels so that our capacity for major snowfall is there across the city. We lack the surge capacity through equipment and through people, whether it's our own staff or contractors, to take on more work in those major snow events so that we can clear snow as well as remove snow. And one of the recommendations that we'll be actioning in the report is that we do need a dedicated year-round winter operations unit. It does not exist here at the City of Toronto at the moment, and it will moving forward. There are some nuances to our plan that also need to be there operationally. How we deal with parked vehicles, how we ensure that as we are removing snow, we have in place some of the things that other cities do, such as courtesy towing, so that we can actually clear sides of the road so that residents can get in and out of their place better. And if cars are parked because people may be away or they may not have the ability to move them, that we simply courtesy tow so we can do that work. Those are the kinds of ideas that we will be looking at as well. Finally, I want to say that one of the other areas we need to strengthen is around communication and the ability to share information and receive information from the public. One of the recommendations in our report is that the temporary hold on 311 service calls that happen as snow is falling be removed. That is, that residents of the City of Toronto can call in at any time during a snow event and log their concern and complaints. And right now that doesn't happen. It leads to periods where it looks like there aren't a lot of things going wrong in our response. And then all of a sudden we see the surge when we open up the ability for people to log their concerns. Of course, those concerns would be treated differently as the snow is falling, but it would give us a chance to heat map how we can better respond to certain areas of the city that may have some issues in terms of either clearing or the removal of snow. The second thing is we need to communicate in major snow events the way it is, which is it's a bit of an emergency. It's a lot like flooding events that happen from time to time, where we need to be clear with the public how we're doing and communicate better the results rather than the effort. The great thing about the report that came forward from our consultant is this wasn't a lack of effort by our staff or by our contractors. They were working as hard and as long as they could, and sometimes right up to the wire where they needed to take a mandated break by legislative standards in terms of operating vehicles. It was not about laziness or lack of effort, but the reality is we continued to simply talk about the work that was occurring rather than the results we were achieving, and that needs to change as well. It all comes back to having a solid plan, a plan that allows us to operationalize the very unique things that happen in major snow events. We do need to think about how we develop a stronger approach to snow removal, which may mean up to and including having separate contracts for snow removal, something that we will go away and continue to work on should committee and council approve our report. This is all about trying to be better when these major snow events come along. And I look forward to the debate that will happen next week at Executive, the debate that will happen at Council. And I do look forward at actioning what I think will be some very important recommendations moving forward. So with that, happy to take any questions that people have.
Earlier this year, when the mayor was kind of really going in on city staff, she called it a failure. You went on CBC Metro Morning and you said you wouldn't classify the snow removal as a failure. Do you still stand by that?
So the failure is our overall plan and structure. We simply can't remove the snow fast enough. So is it a failure, again, of the effort and the ability that we have currently? The answer is on the removal front, no. There's simply the trade-off that had to happen each and every day was, from a performance perspective, we performance manage our contracts for clearing, and the reality is that's what's happening. We need additional capacity in order to remove at the same time, and what we're learning from other cities through this work is that we should be doing that earlier. So you don't have 10 or 15 centimeters, it's got nice and hard and crusty, and then you have 25, 30 centimeters on top of that, and all of a sudden you have a removal challenge that's much larger. Why don't we keep our capacity going and then find a way to clear it? So there are many opportunities that we didn't meet the mark. So I would agree with obviously the comments that were made. It's borne out by my review. But one of the things that we've uncovered with this is we actually have to change our operations in order to achieve better results.
The amount of money this would cost, what is the current snow budget and how much would this add to it?
So the current snow budget, if you put all in across the city, we just heard this morning, is about $1.5 billion through the life of the contract. The reality is we're going to have to go away and do some work on what a removal contract in and of itself would look like on a year-by-year basis. The good news is we think as we do that work, we could also find some additional capacity. So rather than having the removal just sitting around doing nothing throughout the winter season in the anticipation maybe of a major winter event, we would have it removing snow earlier, as I mentioned, but also maybe having the surge capacity to help out in some of those events, do some other pieces of work. So, this isn't going to be a $5,000 or $10,000 add to the budget. Whether it can be absorbed and whether it's something that council would want to do, we're going to need a couple more months to bring back what those look like. We think there are, though, things that we can do for fairly little cost moving into this winter season that would actually see us be able to do removal better if we get a major winter event.
Break it down for one winter season, what that budget would be, and then what these recommendations would add to that budget.
We may have to follow up and get you that precise number. I don't want to guess off the top of my head, so we'll get you that precise number as a follow-up.
Noted that there was no standby capacity, no standby cost, there was no contractual obligation to have people just kind of waiting. When I interviewed Vince earlier this year, he said that was
And officials are just releasing information of a report aimed at improving winter maintenance operations at City Hall. One of the things that they mentioned is that when the city removes snow, they have limited places to put that snow, to store that snow.